You guys ever see one of these? A Plum series pump. They come in a couple different colors based on the models. Yeah, pretty common. Well, it's an old design, and we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive on what goes on under the cover. Coming up next, right here on Better Biomed. Hey everyone, welcome back to Better Biomed. Today we're going to cover the Plum series of pumps. Now these ones here are, they've been around for probably 20 years, man. I've seen these for so long, and they're really not that complex of devices. They've had a series of updates. There was the Plum A, the Plum A Plus, and the Plum 360. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what's going on inside this pump. It's got a series of flaws, and I wish I could point every single one of them out. You guys probably know more of the flaws than I do. A lot of them having to do with this component right over here. Let's just go ahead and get into it, folks. Simple console, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people love them. Even though it's appearing kind of grayish, it's kind of purplish in real life. So there's a start, stop, on, off. Pretty easy. Select up and down, silent. And this one here doesn't have that bright of a display. Here you go, Hospira Plum A Plus. I thought I grabbed the Plum 360. I guess I grabbed the Plum A Plus. Oh well, they're so identical, you know, other than a few color differences. It's hard to tell. Maybe some software differences. Don't really know what those are. We'll cover some of that. It's got an integrated IV pole holder thing, and it's got a fairly rigid pull clamp system on the back. You have an I/O card, which is the computer. That is the computer for this device right there. It's a card. We'll pull it out. I'll show you guys. On the front, it loads a cassette down and in, and there are some pieces that break off on these guys all the time. You see this little flap thingy right here in the middle. That breaks. The lever obviously breaks. It feels like it's a stout design. It gives you a lot of confidence just in activating it because it's got a lot of resistance pushing back on you. It has a couple different flow sensors. It's got a little pressure sensor down in there. I've got a couple modules here. We'll maybe pull them apart and show you guys what's all going on inside it. You see that? We got a couple detectors right here, a couple plunger pins, and down here is a pressure transducer, that round thing that's down inside it. So let's take a look at how to pull this thing apart. You know, believe it or not, I've never pulled one of these pumps apart. I have never pulled one of these pumps apart other than the card. I've of course changed out some of these cards, and that's because I need to explore the computer on this bad boy. It's such a simple device that the software and everything is on this card. Everything is on the card, which is wild because normally, you know, you'd have internally something that is your computer, and then you'd have a COM I/O port, but this has an entire card. Let's go ahead and pull that AC power right there. Get that IEC retainer out of the way. This is one of the more solid designs for infusion pumps, is to use a retained power cord. They do that by molding this little adapter over the plug. Wait. Sorry, gotta pull this guy first. There we are. And this guy pops off. And there is your flush mount IEC. So you can see how this guy works. Just captures it in there. Unfortunately, that means that you have to have a very specific cord in order for this to work correctly. The tolerance right here on the grabber part is going to make all the difference in the world on whether or not this retains correctly. And of course, there's going to be all the people out there that say, well, just use OEM power cords. You know, spend the $100 a cord. Sure, it's not always an option. All right, let's see. I have a flathead. odd choice to use a variety of screws like this. There we go. Stick all our fasteners over here to keep everything kind of reasonable. Pop that guy out, and we have a lead acid battery inside it. Let's go ahead and pull that guy off. Oh no! Don't worry guys, it'll die out in a minute. I have a 6-volt, 4.5 amp hour battery that comes out of the base here. There we go. Better? Better. All right. Nothing special there. That is a good battery. So hopefully I don't get it mixed up with my other batteries. So I got two #1 Phillips here and here. And I don't believe there's anything under this jacket. Let's see. Is there? There's a little slot right there. And this guy right here. Come on. There it is. There it is. All right. And underneath that would be our Wi-Fi antenna right there. Very cool. All right. And I believe this card is ready to pull out with just those two fasteners. I could be wrong. No, that's it. That's right. And that is the computer, folks. That is the computer. You can see all it does is made up to the inside there. And if I were to try and turn this pump on right now, nothing would happen. It is just a dead carcass without the brains. Just to prove that, let's go ahead and plug her in. And take a look. What happens when I press the power button? On. Nothing. Absolutely nothing, folks. So, that just goes to prove it. All the brains for this guy are right here on this card. So, let's take a look. We have a wireless adapter. Now, this is fascinating. This is a USB dongle. And you can see it's got an external antenna, which comes up here to this little daughter card right there. Comes up to the top, and it's got a little spiral antenna. That way there, it condenses it into a nice spot. It's in a ideal placement at the very top of the device. But, I don't know, no real complaints on that guy. They just work. So the big things for this version would be we have the USB dongle and we have Ethernet. Very cool. And there's a couple jumpers in here. We never ever changed those. We've got lockouts. We've got a nurse call interface right here. And we have a reset, which is subdued. It's down in there. So if you ever have some really hardcore issues with the pump, you can click the reset. Not too much going on there. There is a rubberized cardboard on the back that keeps it from arky sparking against everything else in life. And that's it. You got your brains and your memory. That's it. Too easy. That's not where this guy makes its magic. The pump module is where it makes its magic, guys. Let's go ahead and flip it over and get out my super duper screwdriver. These should all be number 2s to open up the case. I think the last time I took one of these apart was probably 5 or 6 years ago. It's been a while, guys. All right, let's see. We got all the case screws. There are some little latches down here on the bottom. And let's see, that should be it for most of the case. Yep. Let's go ahead and pull this guy off. There we go. Sorry about the zoom, folks. All right, and let's see. There is just enough space over here for this little motor that's down in there. And I'm trying to get these screws out without being too messy. Ah, screw it. You can see why. They're super long fasteners. Let's pull them out. And they are different lengths, folks. So that is something we do have to be cognizant of when we pull these things apart. Okay. So I have a super short screw that goes right here. I've got a, what is that? Here, tell you what. That's why we have this guy. I should do it the correct way, folks. So the super short screw is 14.71 millimeters. It comes from right down here. The next one is 63 millimeters. It goes right here. And the one that I took out from right here is the longest bad boy of them all. We have 83 millimeters on that guy. Super long. So you have to remember where you pull them out because it causes bad problems. And I got one more up here. There's always one that's misbehaving. Come on. Normally, bopping the case will have it come out. Not so lucky this time. Okay, anyway, I do have the series of tabs down here on the bottom. These here help release the inner cage. Let's see, come on, come on. Come on, you. There we go. And I think if I put my finger up here, there. And let's see. Let me guess. Just for safes, I'm going to go ahead and pull the fastener right here on the IEC. That's also an unusually long standoff. And it's got a little washer. And the ground right here. Let's pull out that ground. Because, like I said, it's been a long time since I had to pull this guy apart. You can see it is long threaded. That's probably why the case wasn't coming apart. Yes. What I guess. Interestingly enough, the inside of this case has got a copper coating. It creates kind of like a Faraday cage, helps limit RF interference and RF transmissal. That last fastener from the upper corner that fell out is also one of the midline, 63 millimeters. Okay, I have a little separator right here. It's got some copper flashing that is used for creating conductivity between the ground lug and this upper part right here, which is going to fasten to the rear of the case. So that makes that whole back case more like a Faraday cage. And you can see how it's got the through panel, so it screws right there and compresses it. Good stuff. There are a couple different assemblies in here. The bottom one is going to be the power assembly, and let's see if I can take it out nice and easy. Excellent. And this guy should just interface with the bottom board, and I should be able to just lift it straight up. Nice and easy. There we go. Don't want to pry it at an angle because of these pins down here at the bottom. See that? So this is a regulated DC power supply, but it says that it's 1 amp. Definitely doesn't pull that much power. And I'm trying to read its output voltages, and it does not have that listed. Interesting. It's not listed. I don't know if too many of these power supplies go out. I think they do. and I'm just looking for weak points. It's got fuses on both the line and the neutral here. 1/2 amp fuses. Oh, and the black goo is getting me already. You see that? Stuff on my fingers from right here. These pumps have an absolute problem with devulcanizing rubber. It's their number one fault, is this devulcanizing rubber, and I think it's going to be coming from around the pump module. We'll find out in a moment. Yuck. All right, so I got 2 more of those latches back here. And hopefully this guy releases nice and easy. There you go. Oh no, it's so brittle. Oh, the plastic's so brittle. I barely even touched it and it just crinkled right away. Okay, well, I was trying to be gentle at lifting it up. Sometimes there's goo that gets in here around the perimeter of this gasket, and that goo makes separating this pump sometimes an absolute pain in the keister. Oh, here you go. See, from here you can see it's got grounding pads everywhere to kind of ground out the chassis. I don't know if they have a history of electrical noise on this guy or if it's susceptible to electrical noise, but man, they went off on the grounding on this pump. That's not a bad thing. And I'm trying to find a date code on this guy. Let's see. When was this guy manufactured? I'm not seeing it. We'll probably find it further in on one of the PCBs. It says 2006 Hospira is when that PCB was designed. Yuck. All right, so the pump, I've got a large flathead down here. Yeah. And let's see, I want to be very careful of this ribbon cable that's off to the side here. And let's see, I do believe that this pump module is ready to come out. Yep, geez, yes it is. And there's that data cable that I was telling you guys to be careful about. All right, it's got just a couple little tabs. I'm going to depress the tabs very lightly with the edge of these pliers. There we go. Because we do not want to bend all these extremely delicate pins down in here. It's like a 50-pin connector, and they're just tiny, absolutely tiny. So don't want to bend it. Try and pull it out as evenly as possible. And this pump does have some of the black shmoo. You got to be really careful with some of these pumps, man. They just emit devulcanizing rubber all over the place. This one's not so bad. Anyway, let's place him off to the side here. The rest, I have a display and a interface down here. That is your control interface. Oddly enough, you would think that this right here is where they would have put the main software for the device. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the software is completely loaded on this guy. I could be wrong, guys, but I think when you do software updates and stuff, it's this card. So anyway, that ribbon cable, got to be very delicate. Sometimes it will get pinched, and if it gets pinched, especially when putting it back together, you will create problems for later on in life. It's got an alarm speaker in here and nothing much major. That can be pulled apart by some little tabs and a little screw right here. Regular membranes, check for cracks. Always check for cracks. And at this point, if your display is not very bright, then you're going to have to change out this panel, because I highly doubt that you can buy the display separately. So that means that this guy is a whole assembly. The backlighting on this guy, I believe, is going to be little fluorescent tubes. And the only way to really pull that apart is take these fasteners out. I'm not going to go to that extreme on this guy. Just showing you guys what it comprises. But yeah, if you have a cracked screen or something, you got to pull this guy out. right here. One screw, pop this guy forward, and take these fasteners around the perimeter out to pull the display off. Pop a new one on, and you should be good to go. All right, let's take a look at that pump module. So here's the interesting thing about these pump modules, is the company that manufactures these, they have a calibrator for this, right? And the way the calibrator is instead of the pump sitting inside right here, there's actually a flat panel. I've seen video of it. And there's a ribbon cable, kind of like this guy right here, that connects to the front. And from there, it runs to external pumps so that you can calibrate them, kind of like this. You set them on your desktop, and externally, you plug that in, and you can calibrate your pumps. Now, the company does not sell that calibrator to anybody. They want you to ship your old modules back. And when they get the old modules back, I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch of things they're going to do to them, yada, yada, yada. However, I do know that one of the main things that they do is adjusting the gain. So you have a bunch of drivers right here for your different motors. And I believe that these are all like little three-phase motors, or steppers. They're steppers. So all over this thing are just little stepper motors. And you're going to be driving them off this card that's in here. And in order to adjust that card, there's a series of tiny little potentiometers up here at the top. And so those are going to be obviously your occlusion pressure. They're going to be adjusting probably the pulses, the amount of pulses that are given for a certain quantity. And let's see, come on. This diaphragm is right down here. You can barely see it, the rubber diaphragm right there. That senses your occlusion pressure, so you're going to be adjusting that gain as well on some of those tiny little potentiometers. So here's my project. Is going forward, I want to create a calibrator for these pumps, because in all honesty, even the pumps we get back, yeah, there's some of the rubber goo, they clean off it, but I found out that you can clean that rubber goo off quite easily with Gooby Gone or orange oil. That's not an issue. I don't use rubbing alcohol on them because rubbing alcohol tends to spread it, and it embeds itself, that rubber goo, that it'll discolor your plastics very quickly. So try orange oil to localize it, don't contaminate the rest of the pump. And when you start getting that rubber goo on your hands, that's when you should immediately stop what you're doing, change out your gloves. And I've already sanitized this pump a couple different times, so that's why I'm not wearing gloves at this moment. However, there is still a lot of crevices up and around here where a lot of goo tends to hide here on the perimeter. And I can see it now that I've taken it apart. See down here in the corner, infamous, down in that copper coating. Yeah, it's starting to corrode right there. Lovely. So there's some fluid intrusion. Oh, right there are two more of those gain sensors. See right here on this side. Yep, there it is, right there. See those two? Got two sensors there, or two potentiometers there, and I've got the other collection of them right here on the top. See, there's four of them right there. So that's what you're going to be adjusting with the calibrator. It's fascinating because it's something that we should have access to. Now, I've seen several videos of this kit. I know it exists. It's just they won't sell it to us. And the company that manufactures these, they are not very friendly for people repairing their own stuff. Obviously, if all you're doing is cleaning up the external of these pumps and adjusting gains, because they're stepper motors, they really don't go bad that often. If things fall out of tolerance, that's all you're going to be doing is manually adjusting analog values. That's all it is, analog values to test them out. And I think I can create a calibration set for these where you would put a calibration set in, load it to just under and just over occlusion pressure according to a brand new calibrated pump. And then I can get at least the occlusion calibration value. And the motor RPM, that's something that I would have to probably do very carefully. It's not going to be very easy. There is some ways of seeing the RPM on these modules. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting project I might get involved with. A lot of these Plum pumps are going by the wayside. All right, there are much newer, better technology out there. This one here is designed 20 years ago, I think, is when it was designed. It's been designed for a long time, and some of these older technologies, it's time for them to go. I do know that when you send these out for calibration, if you send out a Plum 360, which are the newer ones, which are almost exactly identical to the Plum A+, they cost a different amount than the Plum A+. Now, why would two almost identical modules cost different values? It's almost like they know they have a certain market share, or they're encouraging you to migrate towards a certain type of pump. I don't know. That's just speculation, but that's what I think. Anyway, guys, there you have it. That is the Plum A+, Plum 360 series pumps, and they're fairly reliable pumps. You know, there's still thousands, if not tens of thousands of these pumps out in the marketplace. They're going to be absolutely everywhere. So guys, that's the Plum A+ A360 pump. Hope you enjoyed it. Little teardown. Now I got to put this beast back together. Thanks for watching.